Midnight music. Midnight music. Midnight music. Midnight music. Midnight music. Midnight music. Midnight music.
sense.
Wow.
Yeah, interesting.
I'm impressed that it's gone on that long.
Aren't we all? We're live.
I know. That's why I wasn't clear about what it was.
I know. Good transition. Good
Yeah,
transition.
I have eyes.
My God, we're gonna have a wild
It's
show.
that kind of show.
It's gonna be that kind of show. Wait till you get to the intro. That I just conjured up while I was waiting for you. Oh yeah, I'm in a silly mood. I'm in a productive mood. Yeah,
I'm in like a very chaotic mood.
I kind of feel that way too.
Like, I just feel very messy.
So I found out some information about the greatest news of all time, Kendrick Lamar doing the Super Bowl halftime show.
Oh my God, wait, does it get better?
It does. It does. So there was a lot of vitriol. Not vitriol, but there was a lot of criticism of them choosing Kendrick Lamar over Lil Wayne.
Okay, I have shit to say about that. As someone that wept when he performed at WrestleMania.
Did you really cry?
I cried. I literally cried.
We should have had you there. Okay.
I know. But we got Boris.
I understand. You would have had a ridiculous time.
No, that was we had a party instead. It was still fun. I still had a blast, and I shed many a tear for Wheezy.
Yeah.
But like, he doesn't know the words
anymore. Yeah, he's getting loopy.
He drank codeine for years.
Yeah, it catches
up. Of course,
up.
He doesn't. Yeah, like, look, I would go see Lil Wayne in concert for sure, but I also like recognize what I would be paying for.
Yeah.
Like, I know he changes the words. I would be fine with that as a consumer, but as the Super Bowl, like the biggest musical performance of the year, Lil Wayne is a liability.
Yeah, he's got like.
And I love him. Yeah. I love him, but he's a liability in the eyes of like the NFL and like probably Rock Nation and everyone else that's affiliated with the Super Bowl.
Also, like, it's a performance. Like, Lil Wayne is not a good. Like, Lil Wayne is a good rapper. He's not a good performance. And
yeah, I can't quite think of like a performance he's done that he's had like incredible like stage like he's fun.
Yeah.
But he's not necessarily a performer.
And that's the thing
he's just high.
Yeah, that's the thing with a lot of rappers, whether they're high or not. A lot of them are great artists, but they're not good performers. And if you look at like when you look at the Super Bowl, you look at people who are good at doing a performance. Or if they're an ensemble piece, they kind of get away with it. Like, you know, when Nelly showed up for that NSYNC and Britney Spears and Janet Jackson one, he wasn't really performing; he was just rapping. So
I forgot he was there.
He kind of got away with it because he wasn't the showman of the group. But like, you need people who can put on a show and stage presence. Even rock bands do a little bit better than rappers with performances and stage presence because they have to rely on like lights and fire and sound effects and things like that.
With the band, it's easier.
Yeah, with the band, it's easier. But when you're like a solo performer, you have to like be able to perform. And like Kendrick can perform. Like, even look at when they did the Super Bowl in LA, he had the best set out of all of them.
He did.
He was wildly entertaining.
After that Super Bowl that I wanted him to have his own.
You know, so there's that. Like, I saw Kid Cudi once, and I love Kid Cudi. I think he's a fantastic artist. I love everything that he talks about. He's an insane music producer. For my personal podcast, the Unova Trailer, that's the music I used.
Oh, shit.
I used it for one of his albums where it's mostly just instrumentals and things like that. But Kid Cudi is crap in concert. Like, he's not a good performer. Not at all. Luckily, I was busy with somebody who eventually became a pharmacist and we were studying anatomy. But anywho.
You know who I saw in concert?
Yeah.
That was, I had never thought I'd see in concert in a million years. Who was really good? Wiz Khalifa was a really fun concert.
Really?
I saw him with Fall Out Boy.
Wow.
It was the weirdest concert I've ever been to.
That sounds so much fun, though.
It was really fun. It was at Jones Beach. But so many underage kids got like a hold of like drugs and alcohol that they had to end the concert early.
Jesus Christ.
It was like on the news.
Jesus. Bet
Like,
you they only blamed Wiz too.
no, that's 1,000% what happened.
I knew it. Yeah.
It was the lineup was Hoodie Allen.
Oh, I remember that
Wiz
name.
Khalifa. I still don't know who Hoodie Allen is. Honestly, I drank in the parking lot during Hoodie Allen's set, and I went in for Wiz Khalifa, and I smoked for Wiz Khalifa's set. It was, he had, I remember, inflatable blunts, like, thrown into the crowd. I know that, like, his people had people there, like, distributing, and this was, like, 2015 when it wasn't legal.
Yeah.
So, like, Jones Beach was, like, super, super strict about it. But it was like a very weed-centered concert.
That is
like,
Wiz
for
Khalifa.
his whole set. But there is so many young kids there.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of like Nassau County teenagers.
Oh yeah, well they're already high before we got to the place, so.
But he had like really good like stage presence. Like his like stage setup was really good, and I was pleasantly surprised. Like, I had never been to like a rap concert before.
Yeah, so they're hit or miss. Lupe Fiasco is a fantastic performer in person. I've seen him like
I've heard that.
I saw him like 3 times in the same year. He's unreal. The thing with Lupe, before we go back to Kendrick, the thing with Lupe is that when most of his concerts, he has a DJ, because most rappers will have a DJ, but he has a live band with him do all of his songs.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. So the first time I saw him in downtown Baltimore, he had a live band. It was a DJ just in case. You know, drummer, guitarist, bassist, two keyboard players. And they did his songs live.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was cool. One of the best performances I've probably seen ever, and I was blasted, but yet still ridiculously conscious. It's probably because I had my blackout nap and then I woke back up still drunk, so I was like,
oh, that's how you do it.
Yeah, I just don't do it like me. It was really bad. I'll show you pictures one day. Put long story short, half a handle and halfway through a power hour, all before 3 p.m.
Damn.
Yeah.
That sounds like my 20s.
That was my freshman year of college.
That sounds about right. It was always a handle in like freshman year.
Yeah, Smirnoff triple distilled vodka, regular. Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, those times. Anywho, the Roots were an unbelievable performance. Unbelievable.
Oh, you saw the Roots? That's cool.
They were the headliners for my first year at college for our like for our spring festival. And they tore the house down. Absolutely tore the house down. But back to Kendrick. So Kendrick being a better performer than Lil Wayne is kind of obvious. The other thing is that even though Jay-Z has an influence, a strong influence via Live Nation on who gets picked for the Super Bowl, the city also has an influence too. And it turns out the city of New Orleans also requested Kendrick Lamar as well.
He's the logical choice, I feel like. I feel like besides like Taylor Swift, he's the most talked about musician of the year.
Absolutely.
And like for the people that are butthurt that it's not Taylor Swift performing at the halftime show, if he really wanted to feature her, he could, because he was on her the remix of Bad Blood,
which is surprisingly not the theme to WWE's Bad Blood.
You know, it's so fucking annoying.
Yeah.
I want it so bad. Like, it's written in the stars.
Yeah, seriously. We're going to talk about Bad Blood a little bit, too. And I also think, I may have misheard, but I think they're using T-Pain's rendition of War Pigs as a Survivor Series theme.
Are they really? That would be very cool.
Yeah. Have you heard his rendition of War Pigs?
Yeah, it's really good.
Absolutely unbelievable. I was like,
like the most surprising cover I've ever heard.
You should hear his on that same album. He also did a rendition of Tennessee Whiskey.
Oh really?
Oh, it's gorgeous. It is.
He can sing.
He just used auto-tune as a way to kind of differentiate himself, but he can legitimately sing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Kendrick was chosen by the city of New Orleans too. So. We'll see how that goes. I sent you a TikTok. You'll have to see it about another Kendrick joke in the NFL. But
where?
I texted it to you.
Discord?
No, I think I texted it to you unless I forgot. Unless I screwed it up.
I don't see it.
I'll send it to you, or I'll play it for you after we're done with the show and whatnot.
I know you sent me a TikTok this morning and I watched that.
No, I saw one when I was having dinner.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I'll send it.
I don't have that.
I'll send that to you later. All right. You ready to get this non-Will audio show on the road? So I'm gonna do this all in post.
Our quiet show.
I'm gonna do this all in post. It's gonna be absolutely fantastic. Yeah, all right. Let's get this show on the road. Starting in 5, 4, 3, 2. Coming up this week on Kings of the Rings podcast, we interrupt this presidential debate to give you all elite furniture. Yes, I'm serious. All elite furniture, even though they may have gotten rid of all the furniture if you watched All Out. And seriously, can there be an All Out where something bad doesn't happen? AEW is going on a bit of a streak. We're going to discuss all about it. And oh yeah, by the way, the PWI 500 came out, the most talked about list that means absolutely nothing in the world of wrestling. And oh yeah, Adrenaline in its soul, Cody Rhodes is also getting suits. All of that and more. It's a whole new world. It's a makeover. It's King Ricky and Kayfabe. No Will. Ho, ho, ho. This week on Kings of the Rings podcast, episode number 389, exclusively on Wrestle Addict Radio. And it starts right now. It is really quiet here without Will, isn't it? It's kind of weird, isn't it?
So weird.
It is very weird. We're gonna have to. Well, actually, I kind of like it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kings of the Rings podcast, episode number 389. It's a 2-person show this week. King Ricky and Kayfabe. Thank you guys for joining us. If you like what you're watching or listening to, please like, share, subscribe. The link to all of our stuff are in the description below. With me, in kind of a you're upgraded to like the second chair now. Kayfabe, how are you?
Wow. Not to brag, but I've been here 3 weeks in a row. That's a record for me lately.
That should be your fact that I didn't change from last week, but whatever.
Wow. I don't even get a new fact. I'm doing good. Debate's on or coming on. I don't know what time the debate is on.
I feel like it's coming on at least probably now. It's 8:15.
Well, let's see. I thought it was on at 8, but then I saw it was on at 9, so I'm like confused.
It's probably going to be on at 9. Yeah.
It starts at 9.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, it's going to be an interesting show. I don't know how long we're going to go, but it's going to be an interesting show nonetheless. But glad to have you, Kayfabe. We're going to have another Will, but that other Will had a prior engagement. So it's just myself and Kayfabe for the first time in almost 2 years. Yeah, I think it's 2 years exactly.
2 years.
Over 2 years.
Jesus Christ.
Over 2 years exactly is the last time me and you did a show together. And I'm really excited for this. We have a lot of interesting stuff to talk. We are so well overdue for Kay and Ricky time, actually. We should probably do it more often. Like, I know where you live. You're just a pain to get to.
Yeah.
But we'll figure it out. But so yeah, we've got a lot of interesting stuff going on in the world of wrestling. The first interesting coming up is something that got released midday today. The PWI Pro Wrestling Illustrated 34th annual 500 list. They released at least the top 10 today for their 34th annual list. And lo and behold, to no one's surprise, Cody Rhodes is the number 1 rated wrestler this year. Again, to absolutely no one's surprise that this occurred. They did release the rest of the top 10, which I'm going to reveal to you now. I don't want this article. Sorry about that. Which is, as I move it. Fretch dropped that there. Thanks, Fretch, for dropping that in the chat, but I wanted to get to the Twitter page. The top 10 for PWI's 2024 of their top 100. Cody Rhodes at number 1. Swerve at number 2.
That sounds correct.
Will Ospreay at number 3, arguable. Seth Rollins at number 4.
Okay.
Tetsuo Naito at number 5.
Okay.
Damian Priest at number 6.
Okay.
MJF at 7.
Okay. Always agree.
Attempted murderer John Moxley at number 8. We'll get to that a little bit later. Gunther at number 9. And Mystico, who's Lucha Libre performer, I believe, in AAA or CMLL, I don't remember which one, at number 10. So the criteria for this was also explained as well. So the evaluation period for the PWI this year went from August 1st of 2023 through July 31st of 2024. So about a month or so. They gave themselves about a month or so to kind of figure out what was going on. So in August, obviously, we had Bash in Berlin, we had All In, we had SummerSlam. So all of those things from the last month do not count towards this year's PWI 500. So the primary criteria was in-ring content, as described as win-loss records, championships, and tournaments won. The second criteria was influence, visibility, and prestige within a promotion and or the industry. Another criteria was technical ability, the quality of the moves, quality of matches, and quality of in-ring storytelling. Fourth criteria was competition, which is described as success against the most varied and highest quality opponents. Fifth criteria was also activity, which there was a minimum of 10 singles, non-tag, so 10 singles matches total, or, barring this, 6 such matches in separate months. They also had a note here that said this list prioritizes success in singles competitions and in vying for heavyweight singles accolades, and to a lesser extent, those in lower weight classes. So that is the criteria for PWI 500. The list, like we said, is there. What are your thoughts on this list, Kayfabe?
I think it's interesting that I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, but I could just be misremembering. But I feel like this is the first time in a long time we haven't seen Roman Reigns in the top 10.
I want to say yes.
Which I feel like, I'm like, something, like, this is a very refreshing top 10.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily agree with all the placements.
Yeah.
But I agree with this top 10 for the most part. Like, Swerve is absolutely number 2. Like, he's the top guy in AEW right now. Cody's absolutely number 1.
Yeah.
He literally defeated Roman Reigns after being the champion for like 4 years. That is number 1 worthy alone.
Mm-hmm.
His merch sales are crazy. Like, he's almost universally beloved at this point. Like,
yeah,
he's come a really long way from us hating him in AEW to like everyone loves him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
and you look at Cody Rhodes' record. You look at Cody Rhodes' record as they put in the cover here from the past year of their criteria. Remember, like August of last year to July, end of July of this year. 114 matches with a 95% win-loss record. And like they said, one epic story finished. So for that. So like he beats all criteria, but even with that criteria from August of last year to July of this year, I do kind of find it funny that there is no place in the top 10 for Roman at all. It's very interesting to me because he was still the top guy until Cody dethroned him at Mania, and that's a majority of the year that they looked into.
I will say that even though Roman has done his best work and is part of the best storyline probably like the last 20 years, there has still been a sense of bloodline fatigue a little bit for a while. Like, I feel like there was a point in like late 2023, early 2024 where like it was just kind of tiring to watch and it needed a refresh. And I feel like the new bloodline with like Jacob Fatu and company, like that has rejuvenated the bloodline story. Like all of a sudden, like I feel like there's renewed interest in it.
Yeah.
Roman was doing his best work, but he was in the stale portion of the storyline for most of the year.
Yeah, and I think what hurt him, I think he wasn't as active as he was leading into Mania.
That too. He didn't wrestle as much either.
Yeah. So you can look into that any other ways you want. The other instance that I thought about a little bit was Gunther being at 9. I thought he was at least the top 5. When you look at the whole body of work, granted he did not win the World Heavyweight title in this year of their criteria because he won it in August at SummerSlam. And after Mania, when he lost in a fantastic match against Sammy, which no one saw coming, he, they kind of had to build him back up. He won King of the Ring, but then after King of the Ring, he was kind of waiting. He was lying in wait till that thing. So I think that went against him. But I expect Gunther to be a top 5 by the end of next year's criteria.
I agree. He'll definitely be top 5 next year. I would even dare say top 3.
It's possible. I mean, I don't know about Ospreay being top 3. Like, I look at it.
Okay,
but I don't.
Thank God you said
I
that
just
because
don't
I feel
know.
the same way.
I don't think he's
but
done
I feel
enough.
Also, I don't feel qualified to speak on it because I don't follow AEW like I used to, and I definitely don't follow Japan like I used to. So I don't feel as qualified to speak on this anymore. I really enjoyed Ospreay this weekend, like overall.
Yes.
But I can't speak for how he did the rest of the year. I think it's great that he's crossed over to America finally, truly, and is on like weekly episodic television. I think he's doing great work. I don't know if it's number 3 of the year for me.
You know what it was for me with Ospreay? Is that he signed, because remember in the beginning of your AEW had like a sweep of signings. They signed Ospreay, Ospreay, Mercedes, and there was a third person they signed that I totally blanking on right now. And it was kind of like a big thing. We were like, wow, AEW's like just throwing money at people at this point in time. Hell, even Swerve got a new contract, and honestly, he deserved it after the last 3 weeks that he's been through. But they like Ospreay signed, and then he had to go back to Japan, and so we didn't really see much of him until later on in the year. And rightfully so with all the money they gave him, he got pushed to the top. Enough like feuds, like he's always going to have a good match. Like he's like that's awesome, but I don't know if he had enough good feuds to get number 3. I'd have to read what they thought, but like I just didn't see it from Ospreay.
I couldn't name another feud he had, but again, that's on me for not watching.
Yeah.
That's not Will Ospreay's fault.
No, it's not at all. And I think his presence is getting even better. He's really I thought I was obsessed with Assassin's Creed. He has just made his whole character based off of Assassin's Creed.
Has he really?
Oh yeah. He's got an Assassin's Creed sponsorship now.
Good for him. That's very nice.
I mean, one of his finishing moves is called the Hidden Blade.
Oh, I didn't realize that was an Assassin's Creed reference.
Yeah, because in the original Assassin's Creed, you could assassinate people by walking up to them and you kind of like shove your wrist in them, and out from your wrist, like a Spider-Man thing, is a blade, and you stab them. So it's called the Hidden Blade. Yeah, so that is an Assassin's Creed reference. But yeah, I mean, Seth Rollins. I look back at it. Seth Rollins deserved it. He fought through an injury, which he should have just taken time off, but he didn't, and he's a psychopath for not taking time off. So I give Seth at 4. And plus, Seth is the savior of WrestleMania 40. Like Seth is the MVP. Seth is the MVP of 40, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. But the list is good. I feel like the list is a lot more dynamic than it's been in previous years.
I agree.
Like for a while, the list was, especially in its inception, was heavy AEW and then heavy WWE. I feel like they finally kind of found like a good balance of like where they can represent all of these different companies appropriately.
I think there's more. There's starting to be more balance between the two of them. Like AEW's been going on for 5 years, and obviously we're gonna get into AEW shit tonight.
Oh yeah, we are.
But they're still like, it's impressive that they're 5 years in, and they're next year they're gonna be in Australia. I think they're going to Canada. They've done Wembley. Like, they're doing the overseas thing just as WWE is doing the overseas thing as well. And I think that's really great for the world of professional wrestling, that there's so much space in the world to entertain not just one like televised professional wrestling company, but several. Like, I feel that this is the first year that we're really truly seeing a balance in between WWE and AEW. Like, WWE is finally getting to a point where like people aren't hate watching the product right now. Like, it's genuinely, truly good.
Yeah, it is good.
And people are talking about it. Like, it's like reaching the pop culture lexicon, like the mainstream pop culture lexicon, like not in like a cringy way or in like a way to be mocked. Like, it's getting taken seriously as a sport. And like, it's just nice to see that wrestling is like truly coming up on top.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a lot to like a lot of the work in particular, I'll use the example of Triple H, and I think the big thing is it seems like a little thing, but it's made a massive impact. It's the legacy belts. It's giving out those championship
Mhm.
belts to the winners of professional sports leagues. It's giving championship belts out to sports legends and them carrying around. Like, that has been, of all the things WWE has done in the last couple of years, I think that's one of the most brilliant marketing schemes they've ever done. Just
It's so
lashing out
cool.
but like, people who don't want the product see like, oh, they got a custom championship belt from WWE. Like, it brings it back into them, and then they have just been crushing it, marketing wise. And WrestleMania this year was an absolute hit, like all over the board. Like, they're an inelastic good at this point, I believe. Like, there's
I feel like wrestling right now, like specifically like Mania. I saw a lot of TikToks about how wrestling and WrestleMania is like the men's Eras tour. That CM Punk has said that like he's the Taylor Swift just for
he
men.
is.
But he truly is. Like, but like grown men like were crying. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you put a video of a woman at the Eras tour and you put a video of a man at WrestleMania, like watching Roman lose, like it's the same video. It's the same emotions, it's the same feeling. And like wrestling is just truly being like recognized in a legitimate way.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we were at Fanatics Fest. Wrestling dominated
Oh
that
my god,
festival.
wrestling people were like the coolest people at that
Yeah, the
festival.
coolest thing about WrestleMania 2, we're going to move on really quickly. The coolest thing about also WrestleMania is that there have been a lot of people who, WrestleMania 40 in particular, has had the Avengers Endgame effect. I've noticed on people, where in particular, it was so good. Like, Avengers Endgame was so good and such a big moment in pop culture history that even if you weren't a fan, you went to see it. And from what I've noticed on the interwebs, was that WrestleMania 40 was such a big, iconic, almost pop culture level moment that there's been so many people who said, I haven't watched wrestling in a while, but I heard WrestleMania 40 was unbelievably off the charts. I'm going to go check it out. And I saw there's a particular woman on YouTube who never watched professional wrestling in her life, was said she went to like a WrestleMania party and for the first time with her husband and went to see it and immediately fell in love and is now like a weekly fan.
Wow, that's so great.
Yeah. It was really funny because she made a video. I have to find the video on YouTube for her. She made a video talking about her experience of watching WrestleMania 40. And like, the first match of 40 was Rhea and Becky. And when she saw Rhea came out, she was like, oh my God. She was like, I think I'm gay.
I feel like that happens to a lot of women.
Yeah. So that's where I think WrestleMania is at. It's getting that level, like, especially WrestleMania 40, where it's just like it just pulled you in. And that's what WrestleMania is supposed to do, but I think it actually succeeded this year in a
It
wild
did.
level. So yeah, Cody, PWI 500, PWI. I've looked at the rest of the list. I know one of the alumnus of the show, PB Smooth, was 342. So he's moving up there.
Yay!
Yes,
Congratulations.
he's an NWA Midwest champion right now, PB Smooth. So congratulations to him, getting to 342. So he's moving up in the world. I'm very, very proud of him. Moving on. Speaking of Cody Rhodes, he's getting sued. Okay, so I'm gonna have to paint the picture for you here, Kay. So,
Oh, okay. I'm like very abreast of this because Liv listens to the band in question.
oh
Yes.
my God. Okay, all right. So let's paint the picture for the audience here. So Cody's moniker is named American Nightmare, and he wanted to get it, trademark, copyrighted, whatever. Unfortunately, he couldn't because there is a band from Boston that was formed in 1996 with the name American Nightmare already. Cody Rhodes obviously started using the American Nightmare moniker around 2018-ish. Something like 2018, 2019, something like that. So him being aware that this was already kind of trademarked and taken, he had to strike a deal to use the American Nightmare name. The American Nightmare band is still touring. They last toured in 2023. And according to the original agreement, Cody again obviously gave some sort of monetary amount. I think it was like 30 grand or something like that. And as part of the agreement, Cody could use American Nightmare. The only stipulation was that any merchandise that Cody used the American Nightmare moniker on, essentially any iconography, anything resembling Cody Rhodes, any wrestling related imagery had to be at least 75% bigger than the words American Nightmare on the merchandise.
So it had to be, the focal point had to be the design, not the typography.
Correct, yes.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. I feel like that's very reasonable.
Yes, and so now the band or whomever with the name American Nightmare is suing WWE, Cody Rhodes, and Fanatics for essentially, breach of I guess it's breach of contract. Stating that their merchandise breaks the agreement that was previously set in stone. And they're looking for upwards of close to, besides the damages and the legal fees, upwards of like $500,000.
Okay.
From what I've seen, and I have a bunch of American Nightmare like stuff, I haven't seen them break that rule in any of the merchandise.
I did actually.
Did you?
I think it was like a pair of shorts or something. Let me find it. Because I was watching something about this, and there's something on WWE's website, and it was like, I don't remember if it was men's shorts or like a bathing suit or something.
Really?
Yeah, it was. The way it kind of looked to me was, do you remember the shorts in the 2000s with the words on the butt?
Yes. Yes.
There's like these men's like shorts that say like American Nightmare really fucking big.
On the rear end portion?
No, on the front, on the crotch part.
Oh, that's a weird place to put it, but I get it.
Yeah. Let me see if it's still on Fanatics website.
Because I know on the shirts, I haven't seen them really break that at all. Because Cody's shirts are always really, you probably know this too. A lot of his shirts are really like, it's American Nightmare somewhere, but like that's not the focal point of a shirt at all. It's always like a skull.
Yeah, looking at one, the skull's in the middle. Like it says American Nightmare around the skull in a lot of these shirts, or it's like the back. It's the back logo on a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Let's keep scrolling. Jesus, this is some ugly fucking merch, though.
Some of his stuff is good. Some of his stuff is bad.
Ugh.
I also have a thing for skulls, so I'm kind of like...
No, I love skulls. So there's skulls all over my house. But, like, this is ugly. This is, like, Cody, love you. Better merch, please. Like, I understand that this merch is for someone.
Yeah.
It's just not for me. Oh, here. I
Let's see if
found
you can
them.
put up
They're
on
boxers.
the screen, yeah. Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah, I see it. That'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
They're huge.
Yeah, they kind of screwed up there. All right, so they're caught. Like they're caught. I mean, I'm interested to see how much this drags out. Obviously, I think Fanatics and WWE will cover it. Probably more so Fanatics, because I think this is a Fanatics issue, more so than is a WWE and Cody issue.
Probably. I feel like WWE and Cody would be very on top of that.
Yeah.
Whereas Fanatics, I'm noticing that like they're just putting WWE, like they're making anything merch.
Pretty much. They're just pumping stuff out.
There's a wider variety.
Yeah, they're just pumping stuff out. So I don't know what happens, but we'll see what happens with that. We'll monitor it, but it's something interesting. Within the last week, Cody Rhodes has gotten sued and is also the #1 wrestler in the world by PWI. So congratulations to Cody.
Gotta love a good work-life balance.
Yeah, right. Gotta love it. Speaking of work-life balance, I think WWE has finally heard all of our calls and cries for like, I don't know, the entire life of this podcast and beyond. So according to WWE, confirmed by WWE, starting in October through the rest of the year, Monday Night Raw is 2 hours long, from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m.
God, it's a good day to be wrestling fan.
So here's a couple of things that we need to consider. remember when all of these deals kind of went in play for WWE, the TV deals were all going to Netflix, SmackDown leaving Fox, going back to USA, NXT going to the CW, which is all predicated on the fact that those deals, for the most part, were all going to start in October, or the current deals were ending in this current October. Specifically for Monday Night Raw, their deal with USA Network ended in October, and they made that deal for Netflix to start in January of 2025. So we had always talked about there was going to be a gap period that they had to find something to do with Raw. They obviously came to some sort of agreement with the USA Network to cover Raw into that transition period into Netflix. And I think it's mostly to do with Peacock as well. And there's some money involved. I don't think they were willing to shell out money for that extra hour if they're just kind of holding it over until it goes over to Netflix. So I think that is the real story behind this, is that it's not that they wanted to go to 3 hours or 2 hours from 3 to 2. It's that they had to go to 2 hours because they weren't going to get the money for the third hour.
Well, no matter what the reason is, we're winning.
We all get to sleep a little bit better on Monday nights.
Oh, thank God. Mondays are my Sundays. So, like, staying up until 11 o'clock on a school night is not very fun.
That's very true. The interesting thing about this here as well is that there is no guarantee that they will return to 3 hours when they go to Netflix. There is no guarantee that it will remain at 2 hours when they go to Netflix, because Netflix is a streaming service. They don't really have to rely on commercials. There might be Raw on a week-to-week basis when it goes to Netflix might have an inconsistent time frame depending on what's happening that week.
Oh.
Like, think about that, because remember, like, a lot of Raw, like, if you were to remember when you used to Hulu Raw, it goes from 3 hours to about an hour and a half.
Yeah, they cut a lot out.
Because a lot of it is based on commercials. So I think it's going to fluctuate, like Sir Charles says. Hey, Sir Charles. I think it is going to fluctuate between 2 and 3 hours when it goes to Netflix. It's not going to be a straight, like, runtime all the time, because they have the luxury of not having to deal with commercials.
I'm so not mad about that at all.
You know, it's going to be interesting how it's going to work out. Because remember, in the Netflix and the streaming service, depending on your tier, you either pay for ads or you don't pay for ads. So like the ads are kind of built into the service, especially if there's going to be replayability of these episodes on Netflix as well. So which reminds me I have to re-up and actually go back to Netflix because I canceled it this year.
I feel like Netflix is like that one streaming service that's like I yo-yo between having one of us has a membership or we cancel it until something comes out. Yeah,
so it's going to be interesting because there's going to be a library of Raw episodes. You know, there's going to be. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Monday Night Raw. But I like it. I like going to 2 hours. It's going to be interesting to see how that 2 hour format goes. As I was talking to a Hall of Fame friend of the show, they were specifically talking about it's going to really it's going to be shitty for the roster because you lose an hour of TV a week.
Yeah, so a lot of people aren't going to get featured as much. But that just means they have to be a lot more intentional with the stories they tell.
Yeah, and it's
what they televise.
It's a positive and a negative. So like your times are a little bit more precious because they go from on a week basis, they're going to go from 3 to 7 hours to 6. Each show will be 2 hours. AW.
But I wonder. Sorry.
AW has 5.
Yeah, and that feels like so much.
Yeah.
I wonder if that WWE is going to kind of rely on like X or like Instagram to kind of supplement the wrestlers that we're not seeing as much, kind of like the 24/7 title. Remember, that could be defended anytime, anywhere.
I mean, we do have the Speed Championship, which is defended on
that too.
X.
That's like an X exclusive.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if they'll do stuff like that more to give up people other opportunities.
Potentially, because I mean, they're all going to be in front of a live audience, no matter what. It's just a matter of like when it debuts on the streaming sites. So we'll definitely see what happens. It is a very interesting thing. But Monday Night Raw 2 hours, we've asked for this. We're all going to get it, and I bet you within about 3 weeks' time, we're probably going to hate it because that's how
Not me.
I know not you, but that's how the wrestling cycle usually goes. Speaking of wrestling cycles, we're going to play a brand new game for a brand new segment of this show, but not just yet because we have to talk about all elite furniture. Yes, folks. It was revealed late last week that All Elite Wrestling has partnered with Zip Chair to have officially licensed, as it says here on the ad, AEW Dream Seat furniture, office chairs, couches with cup holders, or a little lounge chair with a cup holder, and looks like a bar stool as well, with, AEW or AEW Collision or AEW Dynamite on like the headrest of this furniture. Kayfabe, will you be getting one of these all elite furnitures to do an all elite home makeover of your apartment?
Absolutely, I will. I'm going to trash all of our furniture that I have spent the last year and change curating to do all elite furniture in my home. See that WWE chair behind me? Gone. It's all elite furniture, baby.
Listen, I know we talked about this in the Discord. I said I want everything they do to have AEW all elite furniture on any furniture that's ever used on their TV and on their pay-per-views. Like the office chair has to be an all elite office chair. The announce tables have to be all elite announce tables. Like I want that branding everywhere. Like if you're gonna take this deep dive into this, like the contract chairs that they use have to have AEW branding on it when they do contract signings. Like I want to see it everywhere.
I can't believe they're doing this.
Fred said
the prices are crazy too.
I have not looked up the price at all whatsoever.
I think the recliner was like, I know something was at least $800.
It's probably the recliner. It's definitely because of the 2 cup holders.
All elite furniture.
Yeah, it's on ZipChair. Zipchair.com or awshop.com.
That just sounds like a fake website.
What Zipchair does.
Yeah, it does not sound. I mean, I see it's a real website. It's just the name.
Yeah. What are we looking at?
All right, the recliner is on sale from $850 to $799. The video game floor chair is on sale. It's $209.99 on sale from $29.99. The office chair everything's on sale. The whole store's on sale.
But it just came out.
Yeah, but that's how they get you. That's what Amazon does. Amazon makes their prices higher and crosses it out. It says it's on sale and puts it to the price it used to be to make you think it's on sale.
Happy Prime Day, kids.
Scam.
Yeah.
Happy Prime Days. The couch is $1,619.99.
So wait, there's a full flooded like a love seat couch?
No, there's a love seat and there's a couch and there's like dining room tables.
Shut up! I thought it was
tables, a chair.
I know the chairs.
Bar stools.
Jesus.
There's bar stools, chairs. There's a love seat.
Oh my God.
This is fucking crazy.
Oh my God.
This couch, what's fucking crazy is my couch is bigger than this AEW couch and costs less than this couch.
That's just, I gotta go on this website and see all of his furniture. Like, this is kind of nuts.
This couch doesn't even look like it has fucking cup holders. Like, what good are you?
Yes, all elite furniture. Get yours today soon. And I don't know, Sir Charles, do you have an affiliation with Zipcar? If Zipcar still even exists.
It does exist.
Does it really?
We use it all the time. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Well, that makes sense for you because you're in an urban setting more than I am.
Yes.
And everything like that. All right, so okay, now you're ready for the new segment that we're going to do. And I'm glad I'm doing this segment with you. It's a segment where we're going to highlight something that may make us actually cringe when we talk about it. And I called this segment, Now That's What I Call Yikes.
Oh, I think I know what we're talking about.
Yes. Now that's yes. And we're here to talk about what a very interesting topic from this past week in the world of wrestling, and that is AEW All Out. AEW All Out, we mentioned last week, was like the WrestleMania backlash to their WrestleMania. And after the success of All In, especially in my opinion, I thought it was a very good show, with some minor hiccups here and there. I thought they were in a good run. I started watching AEW a lot more consistently in the past couple of weeks. And All Out had a pretty decent build to it. And everything. Shut up, Charles. Yeah, I knew that. Kay is like turning beet red now at the moment as well. You just made their night, by the way, Charles. AEW All Out had a pretty decent build to it. You had a couple of good marquee matches. They added Okado's in a fatal four-way for the Continental Championship. The Young Bucks were in a tag team title match. You had Ospreay versus Pac, who actually tore the freaking house down with their match. Ricochet still can't cut a promo.
Oh my god, Ricochet.
We're not even kidding about. We're not even going into that as well. Mercedes did what Mercedes does. Nothing really special there, to be completely honest with you. And then we got to the bigger marquee matchups, which was the actual main event, quote unquote main event, Bryan Danielson versus Jack Perry. Decent match for all intents and purposes. Obviously, the stipulation is if Bryan ever loses the AEW World Championship, he will have to retire full time or whatever that is. And he won the match. There weren't really that many shenanigans involved in the match. But then after the match is over, we saw Luchasaurus, aka Killswitch, come out to look like he was going to help Jack Perry, but it was kind of all smoke and mirrors as Christian Cage came out, because Christian Cage won a match at All In, which pretty much is equivalent to WWE's Money in the Bank, where he can challenge for the AEW World title anytime, any place, anywhere. So Christian Cage and the Patriarchy came out, about to essentially cash in his little contract to face a very tired Bryan Danielson into another match where he was more than likely going to lose. However, Bryan Danielson's friends in the Blackpool Combat Club, Jon Moxley, who's actually looking really, really fit these days, in good shape and healthy, and very shaved head and everything, as well as Pac and Claudio and Wheeler Yuta came out to stop the Patriarchy, and the Patriarchy backed off, and they brought Bryan Danielson back in the ring. Blackpool Combat Club, all five of them, raising hands in the air, celebrating Bryan Danielson's victory, and out of fucking nowhere, Claudio uppercutted the absolute shit out of Bryan Danielson, much to the shock of the crowd. Wheeler Yuta does his best acting, seeming like he's watching his best friend die, because actually his best friend almost died.
Yeah.
So it seems like a typical betrayal. They're kicking him out. This is going to start a new feud with Bryan Danielson. They're going to beat him up. And then, for some unknown reason, Jon Moxley takes a plastic bag and covers Bryan Danielson's face with it in a literal attempt to suffocate him to death on a pay-per-view in front of a live audience. And that bag was on Bryan Danielson's head for a very extended period of time, so much that when he finally let go, medical crew came out with an oxygen tank, meaning this was a planned thing that they were going to do, knowing the risk of what is going to what might happen to somebody with a loss of oxygen, especially somebody with a loss of oxygen who has a prior history of head and neck injuries, and they still went through with this. And my initial thoughts was like, I get it, the beatdown, starting up a next feud, great story, and then this becomes a theme at AEW. They took it one step too far. It was so shocking and jarring. The Chicago crowd started chanting, "This is murder."
I'm not gonna lie, I did laugh at the "This is murder" chant.
Yeah.
Because I've never heard that in my life.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like this.
Yeah. I mean,
just the entire end of it. The last two matches of this pay-per-view overall.
absolutely. I mean, Mox is known, the character of John Moxley is known for being a bit of a psychopath, deathmatch guy, doing a lot of crazy stuff, and there's ways you can do death matches where it looks bloody, it looks gruesome, and all of that stuff, and that's fine. But to literally try to take someone's oxygen away in the middle of a ring, and like I looked at that, like there was no holes, like this was a literal suffocation. Again, to the point where the medical team came out with an oxygen tank for him. Like this was a planned, extremely dangerous stunt that I don't think they needed to do to get the point across. What are your thoughts, Kay?
I feel like this is how I know I feel like I'm like in my 30s and like my frontal lobe is developing.
Yeah.
Like I don't get grossed out or like squeamish from gore very easily. But as someone that like has garbage lungs, I don't know, the suffocation for me was too much. I'm like, this is too much for me. Like, give me tacks, give me blood, fine, whatever. Mm-hmm. But like, I don't know. I like that Mr. Fretz pointed out that Brian hates plastics. And I feel like that's an even like sicker layer that I didn't even like think about. I was just so focused on the breathing aspect of it. Mm-hmm. But this is where I'm going to be a little old for a second. Like, yeah, AEW is more of an adult show, but like kids still do kind of watch AEW probably a little bit.
Yeah, especially teens.
And well, I'm not so much worried about like teenagers doing this so much as like maybe like later elementary school and like early middle school watching a plastic bag stunt. Like that's an easily accessible object.
Yeah.
In anybody's house, like anybody could try to practice that spot with their sibling or their friend right now if they wanted to.
Yeah, it's just I was very uncomfortable with it. Obviously, with Bryan Danielson's medical history as well, and loss of oxygen to the brain is very bad. Like I've worked with people in my real life who have traumatic brain injuries, and this is one way to get them.
Yeah,
and it's really a shame because like our co-host Will always says, Daniel Bryan wants to die in the ring, or Bryan Danielson wants to die in the ring, and he's
truly, he's getting there.
He's getting really close.
That's his goal, is to die at AEW.
Yeah, and I it's annoying. Like the more that he tries to do these things, the more I'm just like, dude, you have, I think that's what, 2 kids now?
Yeah. We always forget the second.
We always do, because everybody talked about Birdie.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you trying to prove? It's one of those things when I remember back when AEW first started and Cody and Sean Spears knocked the crap out of Cody with a chair shot. And we were like,
oh my God, I remember that.
And we were like, what are you doing? Like, you're an EVP of the company. Like, what are you trying to prove to the boys in the back? Like, that you're the guy? Like, we already know you're the guy. You founded the company. Like,
is it like a my dick is bigger sort of situation?
I honestly don't know.
But I don't get that energy from Daniel Bryan.
I don't know. I don't.
But I guess.
Yeah.
From what I have understood about men in my time around men, men get weird about weird things.
This is true.
Especially with like retiring is like a form of vulnerability. Like you're kind of, by retiring, you're admitting you can't go as hard anymore.
Yeah.
Even though Brian is like, yeah, he's retiring for the benefit of his family.
Not.
There's still what's the word I'm looking for here? Like, he's setting aside his health, like his career for his family, which is fine, but he's like giving up his like livelihood and like
it's all he knows, and it's hard for him to get rid of. It's hard. I understand it's hard for somebody to change them. That's the only thing they've known and the only thing they've ever wanted to be. And there is a grieving period that you would have to go through from a therapeutic standpoint for this loss of this life that you had for so long. And a part of that grieving period is, and from a therapeutic perspective, again, part of that grieving period is when you even grieve a death of somebody or a breakup, is you now have to reconstruct your mind to realize that there is a reality and there is a future without the preconceived notion of what you already had.
Yeah.
And I think that
I totally understand.
Yeah,
that.
and I think that's the real life issue that Bryan Danielson is going through, that he cannot see a life without wrestling, without pro wrestling. Because it even went from I'm retiring to I'm retiring from a full-time basis. So there is still a possibility that he will always come back, which he doesn't need to.
I could see him coming back for like a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Here and there. Like
it's just still always harder to do it part-time than it is full-time.
He can't quit wrestling. Like he in his soul, even if he's gonna not like wrestle every week anymore, and he's gonna wrestle full-time until he drops his title.
Yeah.
And then after he drops his title, he's gonna probably disappear. But what he also doesn't, at least on TV or anything, like kayfabe doesn't seem to consider, is that like you can have a career and a life in wrestling outside of the ring.
Yeah.
Like, look at all the great work Jason Jordan has done producing WWE since his career ended.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, his career ended, he was young.
Yeah.
Like, very young.
Yeah, he had a lot of potential, and there was a lot of promise in him as a singles competitor.
Yeah.
And it just didn't happen. It's one of those things where Daniel Bryan has to realize that there's a future outside of the ring. And you can be very happy with that future outside of the ring. But
and like, not for nothing, we're not always meant to stay at the same job forever.
This is true.
Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay.
Yeah, and I hope somebody's telling him that. I really hope. And if if that was the only thing we're going to talk about all out, I'd be happy. However, AEW's actual main event was arguably their best storyline that they've ever had since the inception of the company, Swerve versus Hangman Page. As we know, this was going to probably main event. It's the best story that they've had after All In. It is a feud that's been going on since Wrestle Dream of last year. They put on absolutely fantastic, brutal matches, and it's a blood feud at this point. It's a blood feud. It ramped up last week after our show when Swerve had legitimately revealed that with his new contract, he was able to rebuy his childhood home, which is an absolutely like cool thing to do. Like it made me think, like, if I ever had that money, maybe I would do the same thing.
I had that dream for a long time too.
You know, it'll be a really like cool thing to do. And so very rightfully so, AEW, in a brilliant storyline dynamic, took that and had Hangman Page kayfabe burn the house, which was a fantastic move. Like, brilliant, absolutely brilliant storytelling. It ramped this feud up to 11. It was probably at 11. It probably ramped it up to 15. They're in a cage match. And because Hangman did not sign the contract because he was too busy burning down Swerve's childhood home, it turned into an unsanctioned match. However, AEW has to be different for the sake of being motherfucking different, and they called it a lights out unsanctioned cage match. And for all of you guys who aren't aware of what a lights out unsanctioned cage match is, it's an unsanctioned cage match. But here's the lights out part about it AEW does. AEW will say, "Hey, our show, quote unquote, is ended. We're going to turn the lights out. And when the lights come back on, anything that happens, we are not liable for, but we'll broadcast it for you." That's what the lights out is. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, it is good in theory, bad in practicality. Like, good in theory, bad in practicality. So we have this lights out unsanctioned cage match, and it's as brutal as you think it is. And there are...
And more.
Yeah, there are staple guns, there are chairs, there are tables, and it's telling a fantastic story. They've used staple guns before, so no one's surprised by this. They've used staple guns before. And it's a brutal match, as it should be. The only way you can win in a cage match in AEW rules, you cannot escape the cage, although there is a door. You cannot escape the cage in any way, shape, or form. It has to be pinfall, submission, or TKO if necessary. And, well, they went the TKO route, and we'll get there. And they're telling a fantastic story. It's the only match on the card that should have actually had blood. I thought there were a couple of matches that didn't need blood at all. This one actually deserved it and earned it. Based on what they've been doing. They're telling a fantastic story. I started getting concerned when the cinder block came out.
Oh my god, the cinder block spot was nasty.
The thing with the cinder block, and I started really focusing on the cinder block because there are stunt cinder blocks you can acquire for spots that they were going to do, and they didn't do that. That was a real cinder block that they used multiple times on both opponents. Swerve got...
Not to sound stupid, how do you know? Not to sound totally stupid, but, like, how do you know?
How do you know what?
That it was legit.
The fact that it didn't break when they powerbomb Swerve on it. That thing should have shattered.
I mean...
If they were using a stunt one...
I feel like there's always potential for a stunt or like a prop thing to go like not work.
Fair.
Or like you know, I didn't even think either way.
Yeah, I was
that it might have been a stunt. I just assumed it was real.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously a planned thing, but I was like, we couldn't have gotten like a softer cinder block. Like we've seen them used, I think, before in like wrestling where you use a cinder block that like breaks a little bit easier, and this one didn't break at all. And it just seemed like I was like, I don't know if that was worth the risk for, because like it's not only the power bomb on it's a power bomb to the man's lower back. Like
that's like
it's paralyzing.
Wrong, you could have yeah.
Like, and the fact that it didn't
why
break.
Are we fucking
yeah.
Why are we fucking with people's health like this? Like, I get this is wrestling, but like I think we're doing too much for the sake of doing too much.
And I was kind of okay with the cinder block spot because I was like, all right. Not that worse, not that bad of damage. Like they got lucky, it looked like. But all of this for like essentially your number one guy in the company, and it's not MJF, it's Swerve. You know, Swerve's the number one guy in the company. He has blossomed. He's blossomed in the past year in AEW. Absolutely blossomed. And they kept on going after those cinder block spot. And then the interesting spot is that we had Hangman had a black sack, and he brought out a burnt piece of wood from the house that he burned down. So again, this is great storytelling, beautiful storytelling, and they're battling over the piece of wood, who's going to hit the other one, blah, 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 and they finally had the resolution to that, and in my mind, from a storytelling perspective, this should have ended the match. Like, you elevated to a point of, like, now we're fighting over the house. We have a piece of the house, blah, blah, whoever wins it. And that didn't end the match. And again, this is where, like, hey, we had a logical ending. Now we're going to take it a step further. Why? No one fucking knows. It started getting cringy and yikes for me, Kay. Because I mentioned this before about Hangman. Hangman's character is very, it seems like it's influenced of a very old school racist from the 60s and 70s. Like he has that he has that vibe to him. I don't know if that's what he's going for. Like obviously he's a man who's kind of down on his luck and is like kind of going mad. But
is that a side effect of being from the South?
I don't know.
Someone that's never lived in the South, like I can't speak to how one might behave if they're losing everything in their life and their mind.
Yeah, I just
no.
It started getting weird to me because he's always kind of had those undertones. Like he's one misstep away from saying the N-word on live TV. Like that's who I feel like with Hangman Page.
Oh God.
He is, but it started scaring. So he's beating up Swerve, and Swerve's kind of like he's on his knees, kind of got his head down, and like Hangman goes up right next to him and starts saying, "Beg for mercy, beg for mercy." I'm like, oh, I don't know about that one, you know. Like in storyline, I get it, but like just seeing it as kind of like an outside, I'm like, oh, it's kind of it's unsettling. And for a lot, of that match, you could even tell the crowd was very unsettled by what they were watching. Like for a Chicago crowd, they were very silent. They picked it up at the end, you know. But for a lot of that match, the crowd was like, I don't know if we should be watching this. Like it was an awkward feeling in the crowd. So he says bake me. He goes back to the he goes back to the sack. And he pulls out a legitimate hypodermic needle. Okay, yeah, that's the same thing I said. Okay, he pulls out a hypodermic needle.
No thanks.
I know, and sticks it on the inside. He took out Swerve's caps, his gold caps. He sticks it on the inside of Swerve's mouth, and just leaves it there. And a thing on the hypodermic needles in and of himself. I was talking about this with who was going to be our host this week, but he wasn't able to make it because he actually, long story short, he wanted me to be on his show on Sunday. I was like, I haven't watched All Out yet. He goes, I can't, we can't do it then. So I ended up talking to him about it after I watched it. The thing about it is, when I think of the hypodermic needle, and this might be the generational trauma speaking as a black man, I think of the 1980s, 90s war on drugs and the welfare queen and all of those things that it was targeted to, and the specific people of color that it was targeted against, and and stop and frisk of the 90s in New York City and all of those targeted things that were supposed to be done in good faith, but we all know what actually occurred. And then seeing that done to Hangman Page, their most prominent African American performer, their only African American world champion they've had in their infantile history, which is again something that AEW needs to be commended for, because it took WWE 50 years to pull that off.
Yeah.
And then to see the needle go through his cheek, I was like, why? Like, one, it's unsettling. And especially there was in the 80s of like when Abdul the Butcher was running wild, they had a hepatitis C outbreak. So like, are we just not paying attention to the history of wrestling and how bad needles were for people? And if that was the end, I would have concerns, but it didn't end at all. With the needle in Swerve's cheek, just hanging there, Hangman Page then takes the chair in the ring, and with Swerve's hands down on his knees as he's in the middle of the ring, Hangman Page unloads an unprotected chair shot to Swerve's head. Probably the hardest chair shot I've ever seen in my time watching pro wrestling. And
it was crazy.
Yeah. He got hit so hard in the head, the chair broke completely. And the match was over because obviously no one gets fucking up from that.
No.
And I don't understand for the life of me why you had to go that route. Like, I understand story-wise, it is a man who will feel like he's lost everything. This guy has been tormenting him, stalking him, ruining his life, ruining all of his opportunities. Although, that's the Hangman Page character. Hangman Page is always his worst enemy. He wins the AEW world title, he's on top of the world, he loses it, and then he loses his mind. That's the Hangman Page story of AEW for its entirety. But I don't know why this was completely necessary. This felt to me like it was a stunt for the sake of doing a stunt. It felt to me like we were violence for the sake of being violent. And it also feels like, is there anybody looking out for the safety of the performers? Like, who is we know it's Tony at the end of the day, but who's greenlining all of this? Do they not have agents? Yeah. Are they just going to Tony? It's like, okay, do whatever you want. Like, it just seems very lawless. It's lawless, it's reckless, and it's also one of the reasons why at this current point in time, AEW will never be bigger than WWE. Because they're gonna end up screwing up so badly, and they've gotten close so many times. Look at Matt Hardy, look at Sammy Guevara, look at Cody Rhodes, now Swerve and Hangman. Like, they are going to screw up so badly one day, and they've gotten so lucky for these last 5 years that nothing catastrophic has happened. Even with Huber dying, it wasn't related to anything that went on in AEW. They've gotten so lucky in that aspect, but their luck is running thin. And it was concerning because, like, and I know I'm ranting, Kay, and I apologize. But
You're all good.
AEW, I felt, had so much good good PR coming out of All In. They were really high. People are starting to reinvest in AEW, especially me. And I was very not investing.
The fact that you fucking got caught up in AEW says a lot.
Yeah, and then I was like, and then it was like, and then you pull this, and I was like, oh, why not? You know how bad it got? Jonathan Coachman went on a rant on X or Twitter.
Oh God, what did he say?
He literally said, "Have we not learned anything in the last 20 years of pro wrestling?" And he's absolutely fucking correct. Like, we all know better as a society, from the NFL concussion stuff, from all the other things going on, from all the other, concussion things going on in all the other sports. We know how bad this is. And to even attempt something like this, I don't care if it was gimmicked or not, you shouldn't have come close to that at all.
Yeah.
Like, it makes you, like, really rethink, like, do you want to continue down this route, AEW? But I don't know. Okay, I ranted for a while. What are your thoughts on the whole thing?
My biggest takeaway about the differences between All In and All Out is I feel like All In was the Barbie movie and All Out was Oppenheimer.
That's a good analogy. Just blew up everything.
No, like, this was such a heavy fucking pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm. It's a shame because it was a good pay-per-view.
It was a really good pay-per-view, but I feel, and like, this is how I feel like I know I'm getting, like, old, or how my perception of wrestling is changing. But I didn't need all of that. Like, I felt like you were saying, I feel like they're being violent for the sake of being violent. And a violent match isn't always a good match. I think they can have compelling stories without doing so much.
Absolutely.
They could have stopped it with the wood, but didn't.
Yeah.
Like, they decided to be flashy, and it's fucking gaudy.
Yeah, like, there's no reason for it. Like, I understand that you want to be different for the sake of being different, but you have to be different in a way that still makes you different, but still keeps your performers safe. I harpen back to what The Miz told Daniel Bryan on Talking Smack, one of the greatest promos of all time. I can do what I do all the time because I'm safe. And Daniel Bryan says, I don't like you because you're safe. And Daniel Bryan is proving his point over and over again. And listen, The Miz was right.
Yeah.
The Miz is absolutely like, I'm doing what I can do because it's safe, because I have a family, because I can do this day in and day out and not get hurt and still provide for my family. Where Daniel Bryan's like, well, or Bryan Danielson, I don't want to be safe, and this is what you get. Do you know how? What was the telling thing for me? Not the cage match stuff, because the cage match kind of speaks on itself, but it was so bad, and I don't know if it's AEW's doing this for kayfabe. AEW said, we're not even showing the footage on our social media. But
they're doing it to be edgy.
They're doing it to be edgy. I get it. But also, what was telling for me in that whole thing is after the Bryan Danielson segment, because I know you watched All Out, right, Kay?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I watched it live.
The Bryan Danielson segment. After the segment was over, they panned to the 4-team announce table. And I've never seen such a divisive announce table. Ever. Shivani, like, it's one of those things. I know JR. We know that JR says, no, don't tell me what's going on so I can react naturally. That's always kind of been his MO. I don't know how Shivani does his stuff, or like Taz, or I forgot.
Excalibur.
What's up? Excalibur, yeah. I think Excalibur's excellent. I wish he could do more.
I love Excalibur.
I think he's absolutely excellent. But like, Excalibur's trying to hold it together because he's pretty much the main guy. So I saw Shivani hand on head, like, what did I just witness? And it could be kayfabe or not. Taz couldn't really look at the camera. He seemed kind of like, what the fuck? And judging by what we know of JR and his history of not wanting to know, JR was verbally disgusted at what he saw.
Yeah.
You know, like,
It was hard to watch.
yeah, it was. I don't know. Like I said, it's what I call yikes. They did so good, and then All Out happens. This happens. This has happened the last 2 years with All Out. Last year was CM Punk, or a couple years ago was CM Punk and All Out.
Yeah.
And then this year you have the fiascos at the end, and they were doing such a good show. Like Osprey and Pac was great. MJF and Daniel Garcia was a good match.
It was very good.
I hated the ending because I thought it was really stupid for MJF to win and then Daniel Garcia to do what the finish was going to be anyways.
Yeah.
Like that was my only gripe with the match. Like they were fine. Sheeta and Mercedes put a good match. The crowd wasn't into it, but it was a good match. The Fatal 4-Way was fun. And you had the best story ending the day, and they just went too far.
Too far.
And I was like, why? Like, there's no reason for it. Like, Swerve just signed a big ass contract. He's like one of the most lucrative contracts ever for, I think, in the history for an African American performer in the history of pro wrestling. From what I've gathered, he just bought back his childhood home. He's number 2 in the PWI, and he's taking unprotected chair shots to the head. Like Swerve is on the cusp of being the face of that company.
Yeah, for sure.
And
like the pillar.
Yeah.
The pillars are changing.
Yeah, he's on the cusp of being the face of that company, and like you can even see on his face, even if he was like kayfabe faking it or not, like he looked in bad shape after that chair shot.
No, he looked deeply unwell.
Yeah, and like again, like I feel like this is the reason WWE has agents, so someone can be like, hey, no, let's not do that. Let's do something else.
Yeah, I feel like Tony Khan needs a voice of reason, and he just has a lot of money and an echo chamber.
Yeah, the lunatics are running the asylum.
Yeah, like
it's concerning.
Yeah.
It's concerning. And if for some reason, I don't wish this to happen to, but if for some reason AEW starts taking a nosedive, we're gonna all go back to this in a couple years and be like, this is the moment that people are like, no, we've had enough.
Yeah.
I
hate to say it, but like if AEW continues to go on at this, they're gonna have like an Owen Hart situation.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be catastrophic. It really is.
It's just unsafe.
Yeah, very unsafe. So that was really elongated signal. That's what I call yikes. But moving on to our final segment, we're gonna preview a little bit of Bad Blood. So, okay, did you know October 5th, 1997 was the first ever Bad Blood and the first ever Hell in a Cell match, where I
did know that.
Yes, that's got to be Kane. So October 5th, 2024, or not 30. October 2024. Not 30 years ago, but whatever. But it is going to be one of the anniversaries of Bad Blood. I want to say it's like 20. It's an anniversary of Bad Blood. But we are going to have.
What year did you say? 1997.
It was October 5th, 97. Because 98.
27 years.
Yeah, 27 years. Because 98 was Taker and Mankind. 97 was Undertaker and Shawn. And the Kane debut.
Damn.
Yeah, so it's going to be the 27-year anniversary of that. It's going to be in Atlanta. And I believe, as of right now, it's a very Judgment Day heavy card. There's only like 3 matches. But the premier match, officially, Punk, McIntyre, Hell in a Cell. I think this is the only Hell in a Cell match on the card.
Wow, I love being right. I said this weeks ago.
Yes, this is a feud that deserves the Hell in a Cell. It's gone a main event. It's a B-level pay-per-view historically, but we are going back to kind of the roots of what a Hell in a Cell match was. It was a feud to end all feuds. You're not just doing it for the sake of doing it. And I think if Triple H has his way, which I think he's obviously going to have his way, this is the only Hell in a Cell match on the card, and rightfully so.
I hope so.
So how excited are you for this to occur?
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I low-key have been fiending for Punk in a steel cage since he started wrestling again. So, go me. And it's in Atlanta, so it's going to be on at a normal time, which means I won't be at work when this is on.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. I'll be out of work by 5:30, so I can watch Bad Blood.
Yeah, you'll be out of work.
Uninterrupted.
Yes, because it is going on at 6 Eastern, actually.
Thank God.
And I'll tell you why.
God.
It's because there's also a UFC event. And like they don't have to play nice with each other. They're just under the same umbrella. However, I understand why they're doing what they're doing.
I get it.
Yeah. So it's going to be an earlier than usual event because there's a UFC card. It's not even happening in Atlanta, the UFC card. It's somewhere else. I want to say it's actually in the Sphere in Vegas.
Oh, that's cool.
Or it might be this week is in the Sphere in Vegas. I don't recall. I remember seeing some they're going to do a UFC event in the Sphere. But that's why it's going to be a little bit earlier than usual. I think it's going to be the pre-shows at 6. I think the main card's going to be at 7 or something like that. But we'll definitely find out about it. But I'm excited. I think it's going to be great. It's going to be a feud ender.
Me too.
Our friend Charles is going to be in the crowd.
Oh, you're going? That's so exciting.
Charles is going. I am not going.
Oh, I misheard.
I'm sorry.
I'm glad Charles is going.
I am not going. I'm not going. I thought about it, but I can't wield it actually because we got Comic-Cons coming up, and I got got to put money towards that and shit and everything like that. Although we'll have to talk with Will about later on in the month of September for a Grand Slam. Yeah. I was told by my boss that I need to take more time off, so now I have an excuse.
Liv and I are both down to go. Just buying tickets after this week because my divorce is getting fixed on Thursday, and they are charging us an astronomical price for this fucking neutering.
Choppy.
So I am on financial hibernation until next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about it with Will at some point during the week. Mm-hmm. But yeah, folks, that is the end of our show this week. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm so glad I was able to do it with you, Kay.
This was very fun and very refreshing and long overdue.
Yeah, let's do this again. Let's just kick Will off like a couple of times a year. So I can do everything in post and whatnot. But any final words, Kay, before we get out of here?
No, I have a debate to watch.
You're the only one who's got a debate to watch live.
All my friends are watching and my phone's blowing up, so I have like serious catching up to do. You can find me on social media at what's my fucking handle?
K
I almost said BK Murphy.
K_.
That hasn't been my fucking handle in like over a year.
Because you wanted to change it.
Because I didn't want my name to be my thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't look up my name. Look up K_Fave.
K_Fave.
And go to Ricky.
Thank you for
because apparently shit's popping off. I'm just getting a lot of information at once.
We'll cut the pre-show this week. We'll just go straight to the damn thing. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Kings of the Rings podcast, episode number 389, Elite Home Makeover. I have been your host, King Ricky Rose. You can find me at Ambassador Biggs across all social media outlets, BIGZ Ambassador Biggs, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, some people's DMs, less people's text messages, BIGZ Ambassador Biggs. Find Kings of the Rings podcast at KOTR_podcast across all social media outlets. Like, share, subscribe, leave some 5-star review, buy some of our fantastic merch, which I'm wearing right now. I'm in the middle of actually rehauling a lot of our merchandise, taking some stuff out, putting some things on. I'm doing a whole revamp.
I would love to help.
You can help me reorganize, actually.
I would love to help organize. I love to organize.
Yeah, I really need to reorganize a bunch of stuff, but it's going well so far. It's going well. We're in the infantile stage, but we're gonna stuff is still on there. Links all about it in the description below. If you're listening to us or watching us, please do so on Wrestle Addict Radio, the cure for the common wrestling podcast. Follow Wrestle Addict Radio socials at addict_wrestle on Twitter and at Wrestle Addict Radio, all one word, everywhere else. When we come back next week, hopefully AEW hasn't done anything absolutely catastrophic, but literally at this point, no promises. We won't have a pay-per-view or anything to really predict, so it's just going to be a regular wrestling week, which is probably my famous last word. So until next week, folks, goodbye, good night, we'll see you soon. Oh yeah, fuck you, Slack, but for one time, in the words of James Earl Jones, the voice of Lord Vader, may the Force be with you. Good.
And also with you, for my Catholics up in there.
Jesus Christ, Kay, all that guilt. We'll see you next week, folks.
Midnight music.